Yeah, I'm wrestling with a bloody camera again. Fucking stay there, you. Fuck it. Doesn't matter. Right, it's good enough. Now, I came across a headline. I had to use a VPN to get it. Because here in the UK, most of the news like this is hidden. You don't get it. It's just not here. Actually, it's not hidden. It's just not here. And the reason for that, because the British government are cowards. Aren't you, Rishi? Yes, you are. Don't deny it. There's no point. Also supports what happens to the Palestinians in Gaza via their murder via Netanyahu. They stop all the news of Gaza. We don't see it. It's not there. Just the odd silly little thing here, the odd silly little thing there. But no, apart from that, no. So, I used a VPN and it was a bugger because that is so you cannot go into news companies' websites whilst using a VPN. You've got to switch your VPN off, so I did, and it disappeared. So I had to put the VPN back on, get a news thing back up again, and by refresh the page under the VPN it worked. Put the VPN back off again in the hope that it didn't disappear this time. And if I'd have clicked the actual heading, news heading, it would have disappeared again. That's what happened the first time. So instead I clicked the name of the website instead, and that worked. So here I am. Now Benjamin Netanyahu is, there was protests yesterday, Saturday, this being Sunday now. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces protests as more hostage death details have emerged. Yeah. What I was saying about them waving the white flag, yes, that's true. That's on here. But I didn't know they made it out of their own shirts. Yeah, wait till you hear this. More details have emerged about the shooting deaths of 3 Israeli hostages at the hands of the nation's military, the IDF, during fighting in the Gaza Strip. They probably weren't fighting. Who were they fighting? Hamas isn't over there in the Gaza Strip. It's only innocent civilians. So there's no point in anybody mentioning Hamas or them fighting any other force that's got weapons, because that's not true. Anyway, inflaming criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu for not doing enough to free captives held by Hamas. Yeah, well, as I said in a previous video, Hamas did offer him hostages and he refused. All he had to do is put off going back to bombing the innocent civilians of Gaza for one day, and he would have got his hostages back that day. But he refused. He wanted to start bombing that same day. So, and that was all over the news at the time anyway. Not here in Britain, but everybody else's news all around the world. And on Al Jazeera, obviously. Protests started on Friday night outside the nation's military headquarters, and a major demonstration is planned for Tel Aviv on Saturday evening. That was last night. The Prime Minister is taking heat for what's been termed inaction on securing a new prisoner exchange deal, weeks after a brief ceasefire ended. Yeah, but it's not weeks after the brief ceasefire ended, is it? Say, man, am I living on a different planet or something? Man, the Twilight Zone here. The Israel, it's about a week ago, but it's not weeks. The Israeli Defence Forces revealed Saturday that the hostages emerged shirtless from a building in the Jaya neighbourhood of northern Gaza, apparently during fighting, my arse, holding a makeshift white flag to signify surrender, and that one of them shouted help in Hebrew. I rest my case about IDF, and I'm sure the rest of the world does too. The sane world, that is, and that's about 98% of the population of this planet, for God's sake. And the other 2%, well, I think the 98% have to put that 2% down, you know. Fuck's sake. The world will be a better place without them, the Zionists. Anyway. Yeah, so they made a makeshift surrender white flag out of their shirts. So they came out of a building topless. They shouted help in Hebrew, and they were still shot down in cold blood by the IDF, the Israeli Defence Force. Contrary to the rules of engagement, you will know that the Geneva Convention. We're aware of that. I was saying this earlier on, yesterday actually, on a video on here, on YouTube. It says here that as soldiers suspected a Hamas threat. Yeah, so Hamas speaks Hebrew, don't they? Hamas is going to shout surrender in Hebrew, dressed like, you know, an Israeli. I don't think so. Besides, there is no Hamas there anyway, in Gaza. Is there? Fuck. We all know that. The whole world knows this. There's no point in anybody saying anything contrary to that. The whole world knows this, okay? The whole population of the planet knows this. Suspected a Hamas threat. Piss off. The men were identified as, I read it yesterday. Yotam Haim, 28, Alon Shamriz, 26, and Samar Talalka, 25. All were abducted from Kibbutzim. What does that sound like to me? What does that remind me of? It reminds me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They were abducted from a place in Israel called Kibbutzim, in southern Israel, near the Gaza border on October 7. The Times of Israel reported that the three were trying to escape their captors when they were killed. Apparently. To turn round and it's not like any army actually to turn round and something like that. Is it? Usually armies cover things like that up. I'm just thinking, for them to purely admit that they broke the Geneva Convention, they know they're not going to get touched anyway because they're Israelis, you know. Fuck's sake. So they don't have to. It's true. Well, we're Israelis. We're above all laws. So they don't have to. It's true. Well, we're Israelis. We're above all laws on the planet Earth. So it's not like any army to admit something like that, but they did. It is possible they're only saying that because it says here that these civilians were escaping from Hamas. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe Hamas is in Gaza. Doesn't matter what they say on it. I don't say much in the British news, I can tell you that. On any of the other newses in the world. The Zionists are trying to convince us. They're backing up what Netanyahu's been stating all along, that they're trying to bump off Hamas. And as a consequence, they've by accident bombed all the people of Gaza and their houses, and their churches, and their mosques, and their hospitals. Need to go on, and UN schools. And deliberately, actually, the IDFs went straight into hospitals and shot the place up, and shot people up too, including newly born babies just lying there. So everybody's trying to convince all the general public in the world. Well, there definitely are over here in Britain, I can tell you that. The Hamas is, and it is possible that this has been made up. I don't know, because it's funny. It's funny how, I mean, who within the idea has stated all this anyway? Says the IDF. Why would the IDF admit that? The IDF don't seem the sort of people to admit anything like that. They would cover it up, wouldn't they? They would. Well, why didn't they then? It's funny that, isn't it? And then it states here that these hostages, if they existed, were trying to escape from Hamas. Anybody that knows anything knows that the hostages, some of them were in Syria. None of them were in Gaza. No way. Some of them were in Syria, and some were across the border. In Lebanon. That's where the hostages were all kept, and they still are. What, there are of them. Somewhere in Lebanon, somewhere in Syria. That is it. There's no hostages in Gaza. So the problem seems like they're trying to convince us though that Hamas is definitely in Gaza, and this is what they're doing. And all these innocent civilians were all just collateral damage. That's all the bollocks. We all know that. Friday's death prompted new questions about the conduct of Israel's military campaign after US President Joe Biden called its bombing of Gaza indiscriminate. That's indiscriminate. I mean, come on, fuck Biden. Indiscriminate. Is that all he's got to say about it? I mean, you got to laugh at it, and a lot of people in the world will take him seriously and think, "Oh, that guy is he's spot on, bang on the money there." Oh, it's indiscriminate. No, it's not indiscriminate. It's worse than that. It's a lot fucking worse than that. Of course it is. We know what it's like. We know the Greek name, the Greek term, don't we? Google likes us to believe that it's a Hebrew term. Don't talk shite, Google. fuck off. It's a Greek term. We all know the Greek term. We all know what happened to the authentic Jewish people who all said no to the Zionists. Don't we? World War II and before. And even after. By the UK government over in Palestine. Where the bank is. Around that area. So anyway, it was 1946 to 1949. UK government, Cyprus death camps. Type all that into Google and click search. It's all freely available information. So anyway, Joe Biden called it the bombing of Gaza indiscriminate. It was more than that, it was deliberate murder. Free speech again, Google, by the way. Free fucking speech, okay? Yeah, it was. That's what it is. If you deliberately bomb people in their homes, it's like what Britain did over in Germany during World War II. And what happened? What's happened in Gaza so far? It's akin to that. It actually looks worse. I've got footage on my laptop of Germany after World War II when the Americans went in, the American army went in and filmed it all on cine camera. I've got some of that footage there. And Gaza's worse than that, man. It really is. What Britain did was unforgivable. Because all they did was target civilians also. Deliberately targeted civilians. I can't remember the name Winston Churchill gave it, but he gave it a name anyway. And then all the bombers went out one night. Well, it's over several nights, but the first night they went out. And they dropped a shitload of phosphorus bombs. It's all phosphorus they used. If you drop enough phosphorus all at the same time, it creates a fire, a huge firestorm. And you get a big wind. A very fucking hot, searing wind. People step out of their burning houses onto the streets because they've no other choice, and they combust. And that's what happened in Germany. The Germans didn't drop many bombs in Britain. They didn't drop that many in London, not compared to what London did to them. Well, Germans were, when it came to bombing, the British were like specialists of it. The British, they were. We were like the specialists when it came to bombing. We really knew how to bomb a country to get smithereens. Germans, no. No. And we done it that well. We actually dropped more on Germany than America's 2 atom bombs in Japan. These 2 atom bombs in Japan were horrible. But the amount of TNT that was used within those 2 atom bombs was nothing. Next to what Britain dropped on Germany. Just by all those big bombers we had and all those phosphorus bombs. And yet, America is giving Israel phosphorus bombs, and they've been dropping them for ages on the people of Gaza. But luckily, not in the huge amounts that was dropped by the British on German civilians. And it wasn't just German civilians, it was German Jewish families and German families too, you know. Both sides, both perished. Not every, that is the thing. Everybody's got this image in their heads that all the Jews were in camps. Oh, in Germany, in Holland, and that's not true. There was a lot of Jewish people that didn't get touched simply because they were needed to work in banks and things like that. They were the best bankers. They were the best at doing jobs like that and other works as well. You know, because I'm not stupid about a Zionist. The incident occurred while US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was visiting the region. Israel's 2-month bombardment of Gaza was triggered by brutal attacks. Shut up. Brutal attacks. Yeah, after 75 years of pure hell. They always like to try and make it sound bigger than it was. Trying to make out that, oh, a lot of Israeli babies' heads were chopped off. No, they fucking weren't. And Biden's already been called out on that over in the States anyway, lying through his fucking teeth. And he was only copying some stupid reporter woman that was over in Israel at the time. And she was lying through her teeth. Biden heard it and copied it. He didn't even look to see if information was correct or not. And yet, he's the president of the United States. He couldn't make that up, man. He really couldn't. So that gave a green light for Netanyahu to do what he's been doing to innocent people. Yeah, so now they're telling us how many civilians were killed in Israel. I don't give a flying fuck. 1,200 according to that. Big deal. How many has been killed over in Gaza that had nothing to do with that in the first place? How many? How many children in Gaza has been killed with American bombs dropped by Israel that had nothing whatsoever to do with the Hamas attacks? How many? 6,000? That'll be more than that now. 6,000 little children. The baby killers of the planet is definitely Israel. They always were anyway. They've always killed more children than anybody else on the planet for fucking decades. All my lifetime they've been doing that with their IDF and their snipers. Israel and Hamas ended a week-long ceasefire. Yeah, we know this. A week-long ceasefire early in December that included daily exchanges. Yes, we know. Fuck's sake. We do live on planet Earth too, you know. So 129 people were taken in the October raids, which is estimated to still be held in Gaza. They're not held in Gaza. There's nobody held in bloody Gaza. Lebanon and Syria. It shows you how stupid the Israeli government really is. And all the media are just as fucking stupid and illiterate. They actually think that anybody, that Hamas, is going to be stupid enough to kidnap people from Israel and dump them across the border in Gaza. Don't talk shite. Obviously, that would be the first place the Israelis are going to look. So they're not going to put, of course, they're not going to put them there. They're going to put them across the border and across borders that Israel cannot cross with their troops and their tanks and their bombs unless they want to widen, make a big war. between them and Syria and them and Lebanon. That's why. I mean, they've stated it anyway. How many times has Hamas stated? It's been stated here and there when they were asked. They don't hide the fact that the hostages are not in Gaza. They don't hide the fact that some of them are hidden somewhere in Lebanon and some of them are hidden somewhere in Syria. How do you think I know about it? Because I listened to what they were saying when they were getting interviewed. But the media are still coming out with this rubbish. Shows you how Zionistic the media is. Very indeed. Israel and Qatari officials have been seen to meet in Norway in an effort to revive talks. The Wall Street Journal reported, citing people familiar with the matter. The status of those talks are unclear. Well, there's no two-state solution, obviously. That's well gubbed a long time ago. Years ago. They know that. That was never a thing. It never was. It was like something that somebody plucked out of a dream world, you know. They deliberately, I mean, they kept that on up for years with Tony Blair and all the rest of them all mixed up in it. It was all bullshit. Always was. They all knew that anyway. And that's why when it came to the crunch, they were told what when the Palestinians found out what a two-state solution was, they had to say no. Of course they did. Israel's never going to recognise a Palestinian state, but the Palestinians must recognise an Israeli state on their country. In Palestine. Fuck off. No. Why would anybody agree to that? Would the Israelis agree to that? If somebody come in and colonised the colonisers and said to the colonisers, well, you've got to accept us. You've got no other option but to recognise us as a state, but we're never going to recognise you. What do you think the Israelis would say to that? If somebody colonised them? What would they say? They know what they would say. They fucking well know what they would say. Of course they fucking do. It was never a thing because it was always a case of the Palestinians are going to get eradicated anyway. That's what happens when Zionists take over countries full of natural resources. They don't want them anyway. And that's what it is. As far as the Zionists are concerned, yeah, the natives that belong to this country that are on the way. We've already changed the name, pulled their name off the map. The United Nations, we own that because we're Zionist bastards. We created the United Nations, and that's why United Nations tried to make it legal. But just because someone says something's legal doesn't make it so. Not even. Not even if they all agree to it. Yeah. United Nations isn't worth anything, man. It's not worth anything. Because of it. I mean, even Israel's involved in the United Nations, for God's sake. I mean, the UN Security Council, for Christ's sake. Something is untrustworthy as Israel, and it's a member of the UN Security Council. That's got to be a piss take. It really has. It is a piss take, actually, isn't it? The Zionists taking the piss out of the whole planet, you know. And they can veto things. And you shouldn't. I mean, that just shows you. I mean, obviously, if the UN was as just as they try and make out there, then a country that's that people are saying, well, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. Well, whilst that country is being accused, that country should not have the power of the veto. Obviously, because it's only obvious they're going to veto it. Of course they are. I mean, if I had a country and I was getting accused of something, and you know, my country was like a member of the UN, I'm sure I would veto it too if I had the power to do it. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Who's going to sit there and go like that? Well, I'm not going to veto it because, you know, we're as guilty as fuck, you know. That's not going to happen. So there should be rules in place if the UN was as just as they make out there, which they're not. All the Zionists always make out they're just and they're proper and they're upstanding citizens of the world. That's why they bomb a shit out of innocent men, women, and children that had nothing to do with the Hamas attacks in the first place. 2 million of them, just over 2 million of them. And by the time Israel's finished, you'll be lucky if there's about 10 of them left. You think I'm joking? You'll see. They said only 2 days ago on Friday that it's going to take longer than 7 months to get rid of Hamas. Getting rid of Hamas is Israeli code for getting rid of the people of Gaza. You'll see. In a statement late Friday, Netanyahu expressed deep thought. Yeah, I heard all that bollocks. I read it on here. I read it on YouTube. I don't want to go through that piss again. How can he be sorry for anything? Piss off. After you look at what he's doing to the people of Gaza. Look at the state of some of those children. Those that are still alive, that is. That have been attacked by bombs and missiles and God knows what. And shot at by IDF grown up men. Shooting at little babies and shooting at little toddlers. And so nobody should be surprised that they killed in cold blood, people shouting help in Hebrew, waving a white flag. Nobody should be surprised at that at all. If the Israelis are surprised, Israeli citizens are surprised, then that surprises me. Be surprised. I mean, obviously they know what their idea is. They can't not know what Israel is. They can't not know what Benjamin Netanyahu is. They can't not know what the rest of his government bloody well is. And they can't not know what Israel is all about, for God's sake. Or are they the only people in the world that don't know what Israel is about? Israel's own citizens. That's been born there and brainwashed through the education system to believe that all these Men, women, and children that are getting bombed are all murdering bastards. That's what they're taught. That's what they're taught. And, you know, as usual, the Zionists, they mirror their own selves onto other people, onto people that they call their enemies. They're the murdering bastards. We all know that. We do know this. There isn't anybody in the world today that doesn't know that and doesn't think that either. Whether they say it or not, especially on places like this, is another matter. Most of them, oh, I don't want to say that. I'll get banned. It's only social media. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of the world for the people over in Gaza, though. For a lot of them. And for a lot of them too, the ones that are alive, it's the end of the world for them. Every time they look at the bodies of their children wrapped up in linen, just sitting there. They're not able to bury them because there's nowhere to bury them. They just watch them getting coated in flies. I saw that on Al Jazeera through the week there. There's a lot of bodies wrapped up in linen, been probably lying there for a few weeks. And yeah, flies starting to land on them. So that's the beginning of disease spread. But Zionists don't care about it because they're going to murder all the rest of the Palestinians anyway. So what do they care if they catch disease? The Israelis don't. Because they're going to bomb them all to fuck anyway. And that's Zionists for you. That's what they do. They've done it time and time again over generations. Yeah. What a fucked up world. Yeah. The most powerful people in it are all Zionists. People that wish everybody else dead that doesn't think like them. Yeah, well. Maybe someday the rest of the world can mirror that Zionist thought of theirs onto them, back onto them again. Yeah, maybe. With a lot of bloody luck. Right, I'm out of here now. And I'll post this link. This link won't be linkable. You'll have to highlight it. Copy it. Copy it and then paste it onto your search bar on Google. And click search and it'll come up. I'm sure you'll know how to do that. I'm going.